Do not do hard drugs. I have always stressed that, and anybody that I met that was kind of going down that path, I was lucky enough that when I was younger, running around in the streets, I had older people around me that would always caution me to stay away from anything hard. They would be like, smoke some weed, drink some alcohol if you want, but stay away from anything hard. And I say the same thing to anybody else. But I take it a step further now, and I say stay away from alcohol and stay away from weed. Trust me. Your life will be better. You'll be more productive without that stuff. In this clip, Joe Rogan and Be Real start talking about the opioid crisis. And Be Real tells a wild story about somebody on PCP and how they reacted to getting shot with a shotgun. Stay tuned. Let's get into it. Wild.
For them, there isn't. Like,
it's such a problem when people can make a lot of money off of something.
Yeah.
As soon as they find a thing that they can sell you that they can make a lot of money off, they want to keep selling it to you.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And then you have other companies that do the knockoff versions of what they do to sell more of it to you.
It's just, I've been paying a lot of attention over the years about the opiate crisis and the pill problem. And that's something we talked about with Mariana Van Zeller too, because when I first met her, I had her on because she did this thing called the OxyContin Express.
Right.
Where she explained the pill mills in Florida and how people would buy the oxys and bring them up the highway to Kentucky and all these places, and people with horrible addictions and horrible overdose stories, and it was all coming from Florida. And there was no database. So you could have a back, my back hurts. You go to this place, they go, you need OxyContin. And literally you go right next door at the same building, and that's where they give you the Oxy. And that's all they prescribe. And they don't have a database. So then you go down the street to another doctor because these pain management clinics were everywhere.
That seems like it's a thing in Florida.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a thing in Florida. They cleaned it up.
I mean, they had this...
allegedly.
They had this show called Claws, right? That... old girl that did Reno 911, Niecy Nash, right? She starred in this TV show called Claws, and it's her and a group of women, trying to come up in a salon, like make the best salon. But the other way that they're making money is through the pills and through one of these type of one of these type of clinics. And it's basically showing you the game on how people are doing in Florida, how these folks, this is like a thing out there.
Yeah.
The pain management clinics and all that stuff with the OxyContin, all that stuff. What trips me out is that, this fentanyl thing, right? People know about it. It's been out there, yet they'll still challenge themselves and try to party like the shit ain't present. It's like the gamble they're taking with that. It just blows my mind.
I think that hard drug addiction is a different thing.
Yeah.
I really think it's a different thing. I haven't experienced it, but I have friends that have, and they get scared like they got captured by a demon. And when they get clean, they don't want to fuck around with nothing.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, you don't understand. I got captured by a demon. And it's kind of, if you wonder, when people talk about demonic possession, that was always a thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Before people really had an understanding of human psychology and myths and lores and what people are terrified of. Demonic possession was a real thing. But if you think about what happens to someone when they get really hooked on meth, I mean, how much different is that than being captured by a demon? You're captured by a chemical demon that's ruining your life, wants you to get in a fist fight with cops, wants you to drive with no fucking tires, wild shit.
Yeah. It's
a chemical demon.
It does possess you. I mean, look, when people were doing the PCP thing back in the day, right? Back in Southgate when Sen and I were younger, before we were... while we were in demo stages, right, doing our demos and stuff like that, we'd, trek around the city, go to parties and stuff like that, house parties, if you will. And every now and then, because we were broke-ass bastards, we didn't always have cars. We'd be walking to the parties and stuff like that from where, Cyprus or whatever. And every now and then, you would come across a couple of, gangsters that were PCP'd out. And these dudes, I mean, if you got into some shit with them, you were dealing with someone who didn't know their strength and their abilities at that point.
Yeah, they would break handcuffs.
They would break handcuffs. We seen like so.
Is that real? Did people really break handcuffs on PCP, or is that one of those myths?
Well,
I had always heard that
they
people
could definitely break windows like nothing.
They do wild shit.
They do wild shit. So there was this kid in Southgate who was a gangbanger, and a lot of other people in the area, they didn't want to fuck with him because him and his brother were kind of crazy, right? And they had like reputations, and there was another contingency of gangsters that wanted to get at him, right? So this guy was sitting on his porch one day by himself. His brothers and the rest of his guys were not there with him. He was outside of his mother's house chilling, and these dudes roll up on him with a shotgun and they blast him. They, buckshotted him, in his stomach, all that, and they take off. They leave him there for dead. That's what was the intention, right? And this dude was on PCP at the time. They did not know he was on PCP. Nobody knew until the paramedics came, got him. And that oddly enough is what saved him, is that he didn't go into shock. He was just like, whoa, like,
wow,
so slowed down and possessed by the PCP or whatever the hell he was on. And he lived through that. And it wasn't like, it was a short distance that they blasted him with all them buckshots. I mean, it had to be painful, but he didn't feel a goddamn thing apparently. And he felt it the next day, obviously, but he lived through that while he was on the PCP.
Christ.
And that's crazy. Cause
is it good for you?
Well, because
is that a big conspiracy, PCP?
Well, I would say that had he not been on it, he would have went into shock and sure enough died right there on that porch.
Wow.
But
imagine if that becomes a thing. Like it turns out to be true that if you're on PCP when you get wounded, you're more likely to survive.
That is not true, kids. It might have helped that person, but do not try that at home, okay? Please. And it's just wild, man. The thing that speaks to me the most in this clip is when he talks about it being like a demon, man. If you're ever in any type of addiction, whether it's food, hard drugs, marijuana, like whatever it is like a demon. It really is. And one thing that Brennan Ward said, this Bellator fighter who just got through a huge bout of addiction, he's like, it makes you forget your morals. And that's why when he says it's like a demon, it lines up so well, because it like a demon would have no morals. A demon wouldn't care to steal from their own mother, to sell their family's TV, to fight with a cop, like he said, to act out a character, assault people. Like a demon would throw away all your morals. And that's exactly what it's like when you're heavily addicted. I've seen it in people. I've seen it. It's so rough, man. I'm telling you, stay away from that stuff, man. By any means necessary. And if you know somebody on it, man, get them off of it. And if you can't get them off of it, stop hanging around them. Because again, it makes you sacrifice your morals. It really, really, really will. You're playing with a demon. I was going to say an animal, but you're playing with a demon when that stuff gets into your life. I'm telling you. This is a great episode, man. They talk about some really deep stuff. I thought it was just going to be a bunch of stoner talk in this episode, because Be Real, he's just like, Be Real smokes way more than Snoop Dogg, just so you know. Like, just in case you're unaware of who Be Real is, way more than Snoop Dogg. Like, just way more. Way more. Not even a contest. It's not even close. So I just thought it was going to be a bunch of stoner talk and they were just going to get really high. But nah, man, they talk about some really deep stuff. It's a great episode. Again, link is in the description. If you already have Spotify, it's episode 1939 of Joe Rogan Experience. And we were sitting at about 13 minutes, 22 seconds when I started that clip, in case you want to go back to it. All right, I'm out.